My master, Lord Zenos, he will come for you.
That man was not Zenos.
You have prevailed, I see.
I feel Zenos would act very differently. This is not Zenos.
She is gone.
She is.
Wherefore did the Kami spare us, only to inflict this pain?
But in the end, she found peace at least.
Death shall not want for company this day. You spared us a worse disaster, but I fear our fledgling peace with the Empire was beyond saving.
Lord Hien!
Maxima, is it not? I assumed you long fled.
The adjutant.
I entertain thoughts of escape even now, but our negotiations have yet to reach a satisfying conclusion. The ambassador insisted that the summoning spelled an end to our mission here, but it seemed to me there was more to the tale.
I saw a vision of Asai's past.
I have heard tell of this power you wield. And in your vision, you witnessed Lord Zenos giving these orders.
How can that be? Zenos is dead. He took his own life after the battle in Alamigo. I saw his body with my own eyes.
Forgive me, but Lord Zenos is very much alive. He granted our party an audience prior to our departure. That he was gravely wounded is certain, but his recovery appeared to be proceeding apace.
I'm afraid I share Lord Hien's confusion. The man's death was confirmed and his remains interred. These are matters of public record.
I have no doubt you believe what you say. But what then is the explanation? That an impostor has infiltrated the innermost circle of the Imperial Court? The idea is inconceivable, absurd. But worthy of investigation nonetheless. Our movement can ill afford to have a highly placed pretender undermining our efforts.
Your efforts may yet bear fruit. Tell me, what is to become of our prisoner exchange? Though we have already taken custody of our conscripts, we have yet to release your Imperial comrades. Do you still intend to collect them?
Yes. As the late Ambassador's second-in-command, it falls to me to speak on the Empire's behalf. And I'm happy to confirm our intent to proceed according to the original agreement.
Then let us be about it. 'Twould be a pity to abandon such a promising beginning.
Indeed. You have my thanks, Lord Hien. As soon as our people are secure aboard our airship, we shall depart straightways for Garlemald.
Tread lightly, Pilus. I sense treachery awaits you there.
Might I accompany you to the capital?
Alphino?
Alphino, have you gone mad?
Impostor or no, if Zenos was instructing Asahi on the finer points of ritual summoning, then experience tells us there is an Ascian waiting in the wings. Without our knowledge and expertise, our new friends will be hard-pressed to contend with a foe for whom death is but a minor inconvenience. They need our help.
Were you indeed willing to share your knowledge of this enemy, we would not shun your counsel.
You truly mean to do this? In full knowledge of the danger?
Yeah, but this is a risky undertaking. Entering the Imperial capital?
I have seen the Warrior of Light risk her life on countless occasions. Next to her, I'm scarce more than a distraction on the battlefield. But in the meeting room or the audience chamber, there I can make a difference. I can strike bargains, forge ties, and change minds. And where better to do these things than in the home of our old enemy?
This is your moment.
Tis not for me to stop you. But I would have you consider an alternative arrangement. Rather than braving the Empire as a simple traveler, go forth as an emissary of Doma. Such a position should offer you some measure of protection.
Go then. You've obviously made up your mind. Just try not to do anything reckless, all right?
I shall be on my best behavior. Farewell, my friends.
She doesn't like it, but she also recognizes there's no convincing her otherwise. Set to direct himself here from his sickbed, only to be greeted by the sight of Yotsu's corpse. I had not the words to comfort him. Ah, Fino, you impulsive fool. I thought about trying to talk him out of it, but I know what I would say if the roles were reversed. Stubbornness is something of a family trait. I knew Asai was planning some manner of treachery, but a summoning? Thank the Kami you were here, my friend. None of us would have escaped Yotsu's vengeance had you not intervened. She was a pawn, aye, but she still had a choice, and she chose to submit to the ambassador's plan. 'Tis little wonder Gosetsu departed in silence. I gather he left the same way he came, alone aboard a rowing boat. As for the conscripts, some made it to the Sekibune before the battle began in earnest, but the vessel yet waits on the riverbanks for those who did not flee in time. When I suggest we put this doleful place behind us and make for the Enclave together, would be a shame to miss the joyous reunion.
How often have I imagined this moment? Thank you for helping it come to pass.
You're welcome.
There you are.
Gosetsu, your hair.
My friend, what have you done?
An old man who cannot raise his blade has no place in the service of a young lord. Thus did I decide to devote my remaining days to pilgrimage. I will walk this land, offering prayers of repose for all the souls who left this life in suffering.
All of them?
Safe travels, Gosetsu.
A fulsome farewell makes for an enjoyable journey.
Scarcely have we said our goodbyes to Alphino, and you leave us too. But 'tis well that my companions find their own way forward. I must endeavor to do the same.
I have faith that you will find the best path for Doma without me, my lord. Pray forgive me this last act of selfishness, and grant me your blessing.
You have earned it 1,000 times over. Go in peace, my friend. I shall make of Doma a land where children laugh, and none need live in fear.
There is no better way to honor those who went before. And with that, I take my leave.
Farewell. Maybe we see each other again someday. Thank the come you spotted the cracked plank. That ship ended up bringing my father home. And the captain said, well, let's just say I'm not a pirate anymore. I'm going to live in Doma with my father. I'm free. It will be far too quiet without Gosetsu around. I wonder if we ever see him again. Oh, speaking of reunions, have you spoken with Ianashi? Turns out his father was among the returning conscripts. Gosetsu relinquished his duty with a grace befitting a samurai lord. I only hope I can fill the void which he has left behind. Ah, Gosetsu. Fair journey to you, my friend. A bittersweet occasion, but there's yet ample cause to be grateful. Pray join us in the Kyenkan. I would thank you properly. With all that out of the way, Doma should be able to look toward a period of relative calm. As for us, well, we have an intriguing story to tell everyone back at the Rising Stones. Lord Hien trained under Gosetsu from the day he was old enough to hold a sword. Though he smiled through all the farewells, none will feel his absence more keenly. Our brothers and sisters are returned to us, and the dream of Doma's restoration is that much closer to being realized. It's a day that will live long in memory, and one that would never have dawned without the courageous actions of a science. On behalf of Doma and her people, we give you our deepest thanks. Lest you think me complacent, I assure you I have not forgotten that dark cloud on the horizon. That Zenos lives is a source of great concern, mayhap the gravest. Yet there's little to be done but wait for Alpha and word. Until then, I plan to devote myself to fulfilling the promise I made to Gosetsu, by building a nation in which none need live in fear. I confess I miss him already, but the thought that he has at last found peace goes some way of softening the blow. I wonder, did you ever stop to ask yourself why he showed Yotsuyu such kindness? I believe the answer lies in past tragedy, specifically the death of his wife and daughter during the invasion. Though he did well, they were never far from his thoughts, and in Yotsuyu's childlike mien, I believe he saw not a fallen tyrant, but the little girl who was lost to him. After the loss of his family, Gosetsu devoted himself wholly to the service of his country. He suffered any hardship, strove beyond the limits of endurance without hesitation or complaint. Though Tsuyu could never truly replace his daughter, I had hoped that with her at his side, he might live out the remainder of his days in relative contentment. Would that the kami had been so minded. Even now I labor to discern any meaning in Yotsuyu's fate. To deliver her from certain death with no memories of her sin, only to leave her at the mercy of her stepbrother? Can that truly have been their will? That I cannot tell. The will of a kami is not for us to know. But what I do know is that, for a brief moment, a girl known as Tsuyu lived among us, and that she brought with her a whisper of respite for a grieving heart. I think it's time we were going, don't you? We've done all we can here, and we have a lot to report. But before we head back to the Rising Stones, let's call in at Walga's Reach. We should be ones to tell Lise about Zenos. After everything we went through together, we owe her that. Serenia, Alize, you're back. No Alphino? Good to see you, Elise. As for my headstrong brother, he's off on what will almost certainly turn out to be a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Garlemald. It's a long story, but we have evidence that Zenos might still be alive. What? But if that is a joke... Gods, this better be a joke. Look, I know what I saw, alright? We all saw it. And here you are saying he's alive and well and living a high life back in Garlemald? I know how ludicrous this sounds. I'm still having difficulty believing it myself. But while I might doubt the word of an Imperial envoy, I'm inclined to trust Serenia's. She saw the Crown Prince through the Echo, in a meeting that could only have taken place in the recent past. Zenos is alive, but he's not Zenos, I'm certain. No, it must have been, I don't know, some kind of really convincing imposter? Zenos is dead! He had a great big hole in his neck. We buried him. Aye, and someone went to the trouble of desecrating the bastard's grave, remember? False gilded. Halls, whatever are you talking about? Ah, Thancred. Thancred, what brings you to the Reach? Alvinor had me lending a hand at the saltery, keeping an eye on the rebuilding work and so on, just until operations were up and running. And now that they are, I thought I might look in on you before wending my weary way back to headquarters. Forgive me if I misheard, but is there some suggestion the late Crown Spirit could have gotten better? If so, might I suggest a quick look inside his coffin as our first order of business? As much as I hated that man, it doesn't feel right defiling his grave. But if it will put his rumor to rest, I suppose we have to. And when there are no curious eyes about, we can manage? Zenos is buried up at Bloodhole in the logs. His grave was set apart from the others and left unmarked, so as not to upset the locals. Then it shouldn't be too hard to find. Nago, you're in charge until I get back. Okay then, let's look for Zenos' grave. And hope someone is in there. Preferably Zenos. Alize? Most of the graves have grouped together, but they managed to find a lonely spot for Zenos, didn't they? My money's on writhing snakes. Possibly spiders. Let's price it open and see what comes out. This is it. Gods, he'd better be in there. Someone scrawled all over the stone a while ago and had it scrapped off, and thought no more about it. So, no one thought to check if the coffin was still occupied? Well then, we are presented with but one course of action. And we'd best be sure we are not observed in the doing of it. Shall we begin?
Oh dear. We seem to be missing a corpse.
Well, it must be somewhere. I only hope it isn't walking around.
And who's that? Seriously, who are you? Some Elazen resistance soldier. If there's no corpse, then are we to conclude the rumors are true? Not necessarily. We might still be dealing with a doppelganger of some kind. An agent could have been sent to dispose of a body in a bid to lend credence to the tale of Zenos' resurrection. More and more, however, I find myself siding with Ulfinor's theory of Ascian possession. Speaking from experience, I can tell you they have no qualms about taking a living host, let alone a dead one. You're saying an Ascian is walking around in Zenos' body? It seems a distinct possibility. Once I have put his grave back to the way we found it, I shall pay a visit to the people responsible for interring the Crown Prince. Before leaping to any conclusions, I want to know for sure if a body was ever buried here. And I was certain we that Zenos was properly dead. If he wasn't, that was some trick. He as good as cut his own head off. Anyway, Reborn needs to hear about this. If you find anything out, send word to me at Ralga's Reach. I don't know why I'm surprised. With matters settling down in Doma, we were due another crisis. Shall we make for the Rising Stones then? It's past time we shared these developments with the others. Yeah. I'm impressed that Svenkel can do this alone. Considering it was a massive stone lid. Hey, and we're here. While I was waiting for you to arrive, I spoke with your NG over Link Pearl and gave him a full report. Y'shtola is on her way and should be here any— Ah! Alize, Serenia. It's good to see you safe and well. What news have you from the east? Storytelling. Disturbing developments indeed. Given all we know, I too would conclude that an Ascian now inhabits Zenos' body. A doppelganger might fool the Crown Prince's subordinates, but Serenia? Nay, I've no the right of it. With that his wisdom extended to the question of his own safety, capable though he has become, he ventures alone into the enemy's stronghold, and the shadowy web of a paragon slag as not. When it comes to making rash decisions, I'm hardly in a position to criticize, but I'm worried. I just wish there was something I could do for him besides pray.